let's fit a dash. But before we do, in the end of the last episode, you'll have noticed the Locost made its way back into the Locost cupboard. But yet in this episode, it's now going to be outside, and then by the end of the episode, we'll be inside. That's because I'm filming 3 episodes in one go right now, and I brought the Locost in for reasons, and now I've just realised I've ruined all my continuity. Don't really know what to say about that, but that's why. Okay, this is yet another episode about the dashboard, but hopefully this should be closing on the end of it because there's a couple of things I want to get done and then this is pretty much ready to go in. Now, as we've seen, I have been noodling away at the cover for this bit, which is close but no cigar. I've got a couple of wee bits of just need to fill, just little bits and bobs. Then we can kind of paint this and put it to bed. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. We still need to address how to make these clocks work, but fear not, because I have had an eBay win, and we now have the plugs that I require to go into the back and then terminate into whatever they need to terminate for these things to then move. Now, that I'm probably not going to get into in this episode. We're going to call that wiring. This is the dashboard. Why am I making a big deal about this episode? Because there's 2 gauges that are not on here that I want to see on the dash. One of them is oil pressure. But wait, Tommy boy, oil pressure. Well, yes. The problem though in the MX-5 is that is a calculation that's done by the ECU to guess oil pressure. It doesn't actually tell you an accurate oil pressure reading. So what we have, courtesy of my good friend Liam, because he thought this should be a gift and I don't really know why, but thank you Liam, is an oil pressure gauge with a mechanical input that's going to go in and actually tell me accurate oil pressure. So that's probably going to go somewhere. Now, that will need a hole drilled, but that's not the only gauge, because we're now in the world of aftermarket ECU. We're going to have to set that up with a wideband. Now, that wideband is also going to come with a gauge, and it is quite prudent to keep an eye on that from time to time, something I found out in the MX-5. So this will also need to go in there. Now, the reason this is a big problem is because this is wobbly enough as it is. Drilling in a lot of holes is going to further reduce the integrity of this panel. And I'm going to reduce it even further still. Now this line here is where I've guessed I need to raise the entire dash gap to in order to have room for my legs. Maybe an episode or 2 ago you may remember I did say that the leg room was a bit tight because of that. So I'm going to basically have to nibble out even more of this. Now you remember I did radius the bottom of this so that it would be IVA compliant. If I take more out of this, I don't even think radiusing is going to help. Well, it probably would make it IVA compliant, but it's not going to add any more strength. It's time for us to put more metal in this to give it a bit of guts. And that's where I have got a bit of a wild idea. Because we're going to add some aluminium rod. Now, I have 2 lengths of this, and we're going to bend them around to basically start at the edge where the original sort of scuttle thing goes. And it's going to come up here and go all the way down here and hopefully mate onto the transmission tunnel, making it all nice and rigid. There'll be maybe a wee flange on here and a flange on here that it bolts down with. That'll be strong. The thing that is going to be funky is I'm going to weld this to the outside and make sure that the metal part of this is at the back. And obviously this is the correct radius in order to be IVA compliant. But I know what you're asking. Why put it in the front? Because I'm going to add foam onto all of this to make it padded, and then we're going to cover it with a fabric, and that cover of fabric will then wrap around here and look nice and neat. Again, that's the idea. Whether or not that works, I don't know, but I'm at the stage now with this kit car that all of the mechanical stuff is more or less complete, and we're in the dangerous territory. You'll see this in many kit cars that are for sale when it looks like a kit car. Now, I could expedite all of this, get it racing, and just skimp a lot of bits of finishing and make it end up looking like a kit car. I don't really want to do that, and you don't really want to see that. It pays to just take our time and put a bit of class and quality finish that you really need to stop it looking like, well, something that's been built in a Scotsman's garage, which it is, but we can do better. First up, let's bend. Bendy, bendy, bend, 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 bend. Even by my own standards, I am quite surprised at how well this seems to be coming out. There's a couple of wee gaps, but we're going to take that out when we silicone bond it in. And that brings me on to the next part. I now need to silicone bond this in, which really only gives me one chance to get it right. And that's normally where things all go wrong. So. This is actually starting to look quite professional from a distance. I'm not very happy with my silicone job, to the point where I might actually come back and try this again with a fresh piece of polycarb, because it's not went in the way I would have liked. And I'm not sure how that would ever happen, because depending on the thickness of the silicone, depends how much it blobs. It'll do, it'll work, it's a Rev 1. So I've also put some of this trim edging round, because my plan here was to fill in the area above this radius pipe with foam, and then sheet all the way around and all the way around the back with some form of polyurethane leathery nonsense. However, if I did that and I just left this sharp edge of aluminium, well, it would just rip, wouldn't it? So this won't actually be visible. It's just going to be a wee bit of trim in order to keep that from all ripping. However, since putting it on, I'm looking at it going, that could be good enough, but it's not, because this will just look terrible. But I am impressed with how well it has come together. Very, very close to finishing this off. But we are going to need more bits. So you'll notice the binnacle is sitting loose. That's because the bolts that hold the back cluster on actually kind of foul a couple of these bits just because of the way I've made the new binnacle, but that has to clamp flush. It clicks into the cluster at the back, so the binnacles, it can't go on yet, so I'm going to get sort of smaller bolts, countersunk ones maybe, something to that effect. These I've just rested in there now, they'll have to come out. The idea I'm going to have with this, and the reason why I've put these in, is because I'm going to mark around where all these bits need to go, including the steering wheel, because I don't want to foam on those areas. I want to give myself a recess around these so that when I foam out, it means that the fabric will be able to tuck under and it won't bulge and push against sort of things. So yes, the fabric will probably go further into this area and look neat, but if I put fabric and foam, it's going to really struggle to work. But the foam will need to come up to the level of this, so there's probably going to be 2 or 3 layers. Now I've had a look at scrim foam that I bought ages ago, and annoyingly enough, it only seems to be a couple mil thick. Now that aluminium's 6 mil thick, so I'm probably gonna have to layer this up quite a bit, and that's what worries me, because the more you layer this stuff, the more it can start doing a bit of that. So this will very much be a point where I need to take my time and do it right. Also, before I go foaming, the last thing I need to check in this dash is how I physically attach it. Now I did run self-tappers through onto the scuttle just to hold it in place while I templated it out, but the problem putting foam and fabric over this is, well, self-tappers won't really work, won't really look good. I can't really do anything from the back. I did think about maybe doing riv nuts, but whatever I put in here might be quite visible around this edge. So ultimately, I think I'm going to do recessed sort of stainless steel cap bolts and try and put them at set intervals so that it will look neat, and they're probably going to sit and dimple in to the foam and hold the fabric down, but be, you know, visible. It's not going to look great, but it's going to be functional, and fundamentally this car is a functional race car, so it'll do. Again, all of this is a Rev 1. I've got some form of target to hit by having a driving car this year, and all of this is essential to doing that. So I'll get it as neat as I physically can with the skills that I've got at this point. All I'm saying is this might be something I come back and revisit when I have the time and the skill. Right, bolts, foam, finish. Okay, starting to get better at thinking about future Tommy, and one of the things I've considered is attaching the bottom of the dashboard. Now, obviously I've left a lip here, which you've seen, which would have been quite a simple way to just rivet straight onto the transmission tunnel. But that does make it slightly less on and offable. Yes, that's now a word. So what I've decided instead is to rivet on an extension plate and allow me to bolt and rivet it onto there through the back, so it's out of the way. You're not really going to be able to see the mess. But what this will allow me to do is make this very easily detached and look neat at the same time. So 3 rivets in here, 2 holes. We're going to pilot that in, so I'm not going to have to put the scuttle back on, put all this in the scuttle and figure out where it sits. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because this is excuse number 1 for why I'm not getting this finished today, because I'm going to have to walk away for a week and go, how do I fix this? And if you haven't already spotted it, steering wheel, 5 inches, steering wheel, immediately behind it, the key. Somehow I missed that, I don't know why, but I can't just leave it there, because it's going to mean reaching up behind the dash to start the car, and that's just crap. So plan A, which after having padded all the dash and getting it ready for fabric, I really need to discover what plan A has an implication on. I'm going to maybe just cut out a C-section here, fold it back, make an aluminium box encapsulation that has a hole at the rear so I can slide my hand in and turn the key. Plan B would mean we need to lose something, most likely the steering lock, because I'd need to remove the lock assembly from here and have the car starty stuff sitting somewhere else. Now that would mean without the key there is absolutely no way to disable the steering lock when it comes on. Now the IVA does kind of want you to have it. It helps for security. So I don't really want to get rid of that. And it's also wired in and works, so why get rid of something when it just works? Instead, adapting that would probably be a better idea. So I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to make this mount so that I can work out, once the scuttle's out of the way, what my alignment needs to be for that to happen. Okay, so in typical Tools and Track fashion, I have completely ruined any chance of this dash fitting correctly in the bottom. Drilling the tooth pilot holes to put the riv nuts in, and they're far too close to what is a chassis spar, despite me measuring it and putting my best guess to it. So that's not going to work. But as it stands, I've went as far as I can with this dashboard at the moment, and I'll explain my reasons why. So the next step for this is to put fabric over it and make it finished, and also obviously attach it to the scuttle. And we have got fabric for that very purpose. The problem I've got though is if I put this on, what do we do about the lights? What do we do about this ignition lock? There's still going to be cutting and modification that's going to have to happen to this. And annoyingly, I should have maybe thought of that before I put the foam on, because it's probably going to need cutting to get switch gears and things, and it's probably going to ruin that. So I'm going to pin this because the guts of the dash is now done. We just need to do the final doobity bits when it's time for the electrics, and that will be in the next episode. Now, I also need to pin it because I need to have a wee think about electrics. What we have at this stage is the dash more or less complete. The explanation being the clocks now can be mounted because that is all done and they're ready to plug in. So bang, terminates out of the way as well, because that just needs to be bolted on once it's trimmed. Oil and lambda, well, those holes are now there for it. We just need to wire those guys in, and then that's going to be that sorted. So I'm calling dash complete. We'll trim it and do all the wee bits in another episode. So that leaves us with this. Heel plate, alignment, and do the fans and all that electric stuff. But in the next episode, we're going to get into electrics, because this is not going to be a small nut to crack. But from where I'm standing, we've got 5 episodes left to do it all in. Remember, done by a ton. I'm actually ahead of the curve now, so we're going to take our time and do this right. Obviously, I want to spend a bit of time talking about electrics, because I think a lot of people like me will find this a bit of a learning curve. So let's not just time-lapse all of that and completely skip over the important stuff. Anyway, until then, patreon.com/toolsandtrack, because that funds all this awesome fun. If that's not for you, do the like bell, subscribe, do the share thing. I forgot to ask the past few episodes, but do the share thing wherever you think people might like it. And until next weekend, drive safe.
Safety can be fun.